Hey, sixth graders, Mr. Flato here. Welcome back to another great week at the Helena Middle School. On this week's B.O.B Lesson, I'm going to branch off and start talking about jobs and careers and what is it that we are here for here at HMS. Why can't we sleep in every day and Snapchat our friends all day long and play video games all day long and lounge and watch Netflix all day long? Why is it that we have to be here in school? Well, the answer is we're building a foundation, but a foundation for what? Obviously, in very short time, you guys are going to be adults and you guys are going to be out there in the real world, and the real world is going to want to know one thing. What is it that you bring to the table? That is, what good or service can you produce that is worth me paying you for? And so on today's B.O.B lesson, I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between jobs and careers, and there is a huge difference, and how my ultimate hope for you guys is you find something that is your purpose, you find a career, something is more than something that gives you a paycheck, something that inspires you to come and wake up every morning and do something that is your purpose. So on that thought, let's get rocking and rolling on this B.O.B lesson. Hope you guys make it a great week at the Helena Middle School. All right, this week's B.O.B lesson, as promised, is titled Jobs versus Careers. But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be B.O.B. Let's be safe, let's be responsible, let's be respectful, and let's be a learner. Purpose. That is what we're going to be discussing today. Because once you become an adult, I feel like life is so much about purpose. What is your purpose? What is it that you are? What is your greater reason for being on this earth? And if we put this together, your K through 12 education, which most of you are about 3/4 of the way through that, is all about building a base level foundation of knowledge and skill. So when you turn 18, you graduate from high school, you enter the real world and become an adult, you can then bring something to the table. Remember, that was a metaphor. That was a metaphor for what do you contribute to society that is worth someone giving you a paycheck for. And the reason that we want to do this is so we can live autonomously, so we can live on our own and go out and maybe someday have our own families. I don't know too many people that want to be in their 20s or 30s or 40s still living with their parents. You want to go out and maybe have your own family someday, or have your own place to live. Live autonomously, produce your own living. So we have that going on, while at the same time we go back to my friend Eric Erickson, who was asking the question, who am I? So it's at this intersection, when we build this foundation, we start to figure out who we are, where we must figure out one pressing and paramount answer to the question, what is my purpose? What is it that I am put on this earth to do? And how will I contribute to society? What is it that I get up every day out of bed and I can't wait to go do, because I feel like that is my purpose, that is what I am contributing to this society? All right, we're going to talk for a minute about the difference between a job and a career. And I bet for many of you, I bet overwhelming majority of you probably have never thought that there's much difference between a job and a career. But I'm going to explain some differences today between what I feel is the difference between a job and a career. Now, I will preface this and say this isn't 100% absolute. There is some times where this doesn't hold true to the rule, but for the most part, I think we can compare and contrast the difference between a job and a career. First, a job is usually something you have to do to survive, to make money. I got to go find a job because I got to pay my rent. Where a career is something usually you choose to do because it's your greater purpose. It's very specific. With a job, you usually get paid hourly, where in a career, you usually get paid a salary amount for the year. And then you get paid, you divide that up by either 26 if you get paid every other week, or by 12 if you get paid every month like we do in education. With jobs, there's usually a high turnover. You don't keep that job for a very long time. You do it and then you try to find something different. Where a career, you have more longevity with it. You do that for a longer amount of time. My career as a school counselor is going on 5 years now, where when I was in high school or maybe when I was in college, I had many jobs that maybe were for a summer, maybe were for 3 months, 6 months, so on and so forth. With jobs, a lot of times there's little to no training required. You get hired, they briefly show you how to do something, and you do it. In a career, it usually requires advanced levels of training, maybe advanced degree levels that we talked about earlier in the fall, and advanced levels of knowledge, which is why careers are a little harder, more challenging to attain. With a job, it doesn't always come with benefits, where a lot of times if you have a career or maybe a more professional career, it is going to come with benefits. And what are benefits, you might ask? Benefits are like health insurance that's paid for, or if I'm not feeling very good tomorrow, um, I just use a sick day, because a lot of careers come with sick days where if you're sick, you don't come to work, but you still get paid for that day. Where if you're working a job and it's hourly, and you don't show up to work, you don't get paid that day. Or maybe I want to take a vacation. Another awesome benefit would be like a retirement package, a 401k, where in a career, you may have an employer that if you contribute some money, they contribute some money, and then all throughout your career that money gets invested, so that when you become in your 60s, 70s, whenever it is you want to retire, you have money to live on where you cannot work, and you'll have money saved and invested. Where a lot of times with the job, those don't come with a retirement package. A job usually isn't planned. It's just you go out and you find something, you figure out who's hiring, maybe go fill out a job application, and hopefully you get a call for an interview, and then you get hired. A career is usually planned. It's very specific. When I decided I wanted to be a school counselor, it was probably 6 months of preparing to take a GRE test, and then I had to interview and fill out a bunch of paperwork, and then it was 2 years of going to graduate school and really learning the ins and outs of how to be an effective school counselor. So on this first page, we have some differences between a job and a career. I hope this is becoming more clear to you. We have a few more. Job is usually tied to a short-term need. You get a summer job so you can make some money, or you get a job in between trying to figure out what you're trying to do. A career is usually tied to a long-term need, where you want to be in a career for a long term. I hope that I'm always a school counselor. I love my career. I love my coming to school every day and serving my purpose. I could see myself being a school counselor for another 25 or 30 years. Job is more of a short race, like I talked about earlier, short-paced, where career is more of a long-term journey where you're continually perfecting your craft, getting better at it, maybe doing advanced training, like I'll go to MBI this summer, or we have PIR days in education where we're being lifelong learners, or we're continually striving to get better at what we do every day. With jobs, they're usually lower compensation for money. You usually don't get paid as well if you do in a lot of careers where you usually get higher compensation. In jobs, you do it for one reason and one reason only. You do it to get money so that you can pay your bills or buy something or spend it or survive. A career, you receive a paycheck, but you also receive so much more than that. You receive fulfillment. You receive intrinsic reward. I receive so much from the kids that I get to work with every day. They teach me about life. You guys put a smile on my face every day. I feel like I receive so much more than just a paycheck from my career as a school counselor. All right, so when I was talking to Mr. Bullock a couple weeks ago, I brought up a number, 62,400 hours, and I'm going to show you guys real quick how I came to that. In a conventional job or career, you work 8 hours a day. Sometimes this is referred to as a 9 to 5, meaning a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift. In a conventional job or career, you work 5 days a week. So 8 hours a day multiplied times 5 days a week makes for a conventional work week of 40 hours. In some jobs or careers, mostly ones that are hourly, if you work more than 40 hours a week, you get paid something called time and a half, or if W equals an hourly wage, then W times 1.5. For example, if you make $9 an hour, then 9 times 1.5, you'd make $13.50 an hour. Of course, there are 52 weeks in a year, so 52 weeks times 40 hours a week is 2,080 hours a year, and that's on average how many hours the average person works. Well, if you take an average career, which is 30 years, that comes out to 62,400 hours. And that was actually the answer of this week's Bob question as well. Well, why do we do this math? I want you to think about this for a minute. Okay, I want you to think about 62,400 hours. And when I do career cruising with the sixth graders, we've talked about this as well, and I belabor this point home. really hard because I think it's so important. Think about how many hours that is, and think about how many hours that is to do something that you don't enjoy. That can make for a lot of misery. Again, I feel so blessed that I get to do exactly what I love, and I get to make my passion my paycheck, which is this picture I have going on right here. And that's at the end of the day, whether you choose a job or a career, I really don't care. My goal for each and every one of you is that you graduate high school someday and you have a plan to do something that is your passion that somebody will pay you for. Whether that's a job, whether that's a career, whether it takes more training after high school, more education, more knowledge, whether it doesn't. My only goal for you guys in your careers is that you choose something where you wake up every day, you hop out of bed, and you can't wait to go do it. Because life is too short, and 62,400 hours is way too long to do something that you don't want to do. And I can also tell you right now that the best way to ensure that you put yourself in an opportunity to do something you love every day, to leave your options open, when you start to answer that question, who am I, is to work hard every single day in school, build that strong foundation so that when you do graduate high school, the options are limitless and you can do whatever it is you want to do. This quote was left on my desk this week. Don't know who gave it to me, but I loved it and it was timely. The roots of education are bitter. I know you guys don't like coming to school some days. I know it can get a little bit boring, a little bit monotonous. I get it. But the fruit is sweet. And in this situation, we're talking about the fruit of getting to go live your passion someday, having the background and the knowledge and the skill and the education to go out in the world, make a difference, figure out what your purpose is, and go live it to the limit. And that brings us to this week's JellyBean Question of the Week winners, who are Anthony McLean, Nina Kerr, Taylor Brown, Cole Richmond, and Faith Cox. Congratulations. Come see me for some jelly beans on your own time. This week's JellyBean Question of the Week is, Mary's father has 5 daughters. Nana, Nene, Nini, Nono. What is the 5th daughter's name? If you know, submit your answer into the Bob box no later than Friday. All right, 6th graders, let's go out and make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.